Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa, and my poetry name is New Lily. If you're new, please check out the links located in the description box and comment section. And in both of those locations, you'll find an identical set of links that lead to videos that talk about what started my targeting in 2020, as well as links that lead to videos that share information about the targeted individual program. 1 minute, y'all. I'm realizing I have low power mode on. And when that happens, I told y'all the screen will come off and then the recording will stop. So let me take that off real quick. Yeah, I'm debating on whether or not I want to start this video now. I'm on 12%. I'm at work. I don't want to make the video at home. I'm no longer at home by myself during the daytime anymore. One of the people that live in the house with me that was out of town is now back in town and in the house with me during the daytime. So I don't want to, it's uncomfortable making these videos now at home during the daytime. So my best bet is making it at work. I was supposed to make it hours ago, y'all. Just one of those things that you keep procrastinating on. This video was one of those things. I don't know. It's like I want to make it, but first of all, it's exhausting, the topic, because it's stuff I've talked about already. It's exhausting, really. But at the same time, something I did want to address and talk about several things. But I'm trying very hard to make this like a quick video, y'all. Because as you can see in the upper right-hand corner, 11%. And as you can see at the top, I only have about an hour left here at work. Remember, I told you guys I work the night shift and I get off at 7 a.m. So there's several factors and reasons why I need to try and make this a quick video, although there's so many things I want to cover. So let me hop over to my text messages, y'all. Sorry for the rushed intro and the stuffy nose and all this. Like I said, I'm in a vicarious situation right now where I'm just trying to hurry up and breeze through the video. Nose is stuffy. I ran out of napkin. I think I have a little bit more there. I might blow it if I have to. But please excuse the nasaliness. Y'all already know, those of y'all that have been subscribed, what's going on. Anyways, let me hop over to my text messages, y'all. Or like I was saying before I went over for the low power mode. So in the comment section in the description box, there are an identical set of links, right? Where you can not only hear what my story is, what started the targeting in 2020, but also there's informational videos, info about the technology used on targets, tactics, and info about the program in general. So please do check that out. I made sure to put together like a comprehensive set of videos for you all to help share info about what I've learned and my experiences in this program. Anyway, let me hurry up, y'all. Okay, so the blue bird flu sensitization and pull up. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, again, y'all, this thing that they're doing, this actually happened yesterday, by the way. This has been happening, like so these things that they sensitize me to whenever they create whatever narrative they create or whatever stimuli they start to sensitize me to. It's often a consistent thing, right? So it's something that's been happening. I've talked about it in recent videos, and it seems like my talking about it made them amp up with that stimuli, and that's what I notice happens. Like they'll be sensitizing me to something, or they'll be painting a false narrative. But the moment I talk about it in my videos, like they hardcore look the drone. I just saw the drone when I said that. They hardcore amp up whatever it is that they were doing or sensitizing me to. So y'all already know in these recent videos, I told y'all, I started talking about how they've sensitized me to Hispanic women, right? I was telling you what happened in the gym. I was telling you about the things they'd be sending me with the shadow networking. And I told you where it derived from. It started from me talking about what happened in high school, an insecurity of mine with this guy that I thought I was in love with in high school. I have to keep saying it like that because it's ludicrous to me that they honed in on that, right? I'm 32 now. That was decades ago, and I've dated so many men since then. I didn't even date him. Him and I were best friends in high school, okay? And I never said anything about Hispanic women. I said that I had an insecurity back then, emphasis on back then, with complexion and not feeling like I was the aesthetic that this guy liked. And I went into details about it in several of my recent videos, y'all. Just because some of the things he used to say about dark-skinned women. I'm not dark-skinned, but I'm not light-skinned either. I'm a brown-skinned black girl, right? I'm a black girl, right? And he dated black girls. He dated a girl darker skin than me, you know, so it's stupid what they're doing. He dated light skinned black girls, you know, so it's not that serious. I think even though he had whatever his preference was and whatever it seemed like his complex was, he still dated black girls. It's not a big deal, but I never ever targeted out, not to use that word, but I never targeted out Hispanic women. But what they did was they did their research. They're so freaking, I almost want to say fast and nosy, but it's more so comprehensive, because whenever you're targeted, they learn everything they need to learn about you. Anything that you say and anything that you do, they're honing in on, and they're like doing research, analyzing, etc. Like every person that I've talked about in my story, I feel like they did research and found out who the person was. And so I think they did their research is what I'm catching on to. They even did noise campaign when I said this in one of the prior videos. And they figured out who the dude from high school was. And they figured out that he married a Hispanic woman. And so I think that's why they started trying to rub that stimuli in, even though I never said nothing about Spanish women. And so it's gotten to the point now where they have created, I wouldn't say a complex, not a complex, but they have created a sort of sensitization to that stimuli now. That is now stimuli for me, amongst all the other things that they've made stimuli for me. And it's so stupid. That was never a thing. So it's just like, it's so freaking irritating, but they're doing it on purpose. You know, they keep trying to come for my self-esteem. You know, they keep trying to tear me down on a daily basis. You know, everything I'm doing is a problem. When I'm doing productive stuff, it's a problem. If I fix myself up and I look decent, they're putting stuff on the radio. I already told y'all what they do. You know, they haven't done that in a while, but they were doing that hardcore until I started talking about it in my videos. You know, any day that I'm looking decent or nice, you know, they're putting stuff to tear me down, like, oh, you only look good with makeup on, that type of stuff. You know, constantly sending me race, you know, sensitization about the Hispanic thing, and not just Hispanic woman, specifically Hispanic. They did that on purpose because of that guy, but mixed race woman in general, right? And trying to kind of paint this type of narrative and create like this insecurity in me. I know what they're doing. It's ridiculous. And so it's just constantly a bunch of bullshit with that thing, man. So yesterday again, they were trying to sensitize me to the same thing. And now that I've talked about it in my videos, they're doing it hardcore now. Like, they were doing it already, y'all, but they're doing it hardcore now. They're doing it hardcore now. It's ridiculous. And it's crazy gaslighting, because everything that they're doing, and they know they're doing it, when I talk about it in my videos, they start to do it more, like hardcore. It's this weird thing. So anyways, yesterday morning when I was at work, this didn't happen this morning, but I was supposed to make the video yesterday. I kept procrastinating. They sent me, you know, in the recommended, I was looking up movies that I could watch on Amazon Prime. And I saw something called Bird Flu. I think they're trying to fearmonger. You know, another thing that I stupidly said and gave them as ammo to shoot me. And my full story was the fact that I'm a hypochondriac. And I've always had like a fear of illness. Not any one specific illness, but illnesses in general. I told them that. So constantly they're trying to fearmonger, you know, and send me things about being sick. And, you know, I realized that that's one of those universal tactics that they use on all targets, by the way. So they're doing it extra with me because they know that that's something that's supposedly a fear of mine. But I noticed they do this with all targets, where they're like trying to fearmonger and tell you things about being sick, and, you know, their technology can make you sick, and, you know, so that type of thing like that, right? But with me specifically, they are definitely trying to fearmonger. And so I believe they threw this bird flu movie at me in my recommended on purpose. Now, mind you, this bird flu movie, the supervisor's here, y'all. I don't want to stop, because remember I told y'all when I put these clips together, what happens? Well, the office is open. I believe is my coworker in there? Nah, he drove off. I thought he had pulled up. I have to open the office, y'all. If I stop the video now, then what's going to happen is I'm going to have to make another clip, and as you all know, the screen is going to black out. So what I'm going to do is put my mask on. I'm going to unlock the door. All I have to do is sign my timesheet, and then I can come back to my vehicle. So I'm going to put my mask on. I don't have my mask. Here it is. I'm going to put my mask on. I'm going to move quick. I'm going to put my mask on, sign the timesheet, and I'll be back. As a matter of fact, the door is open, so I think she's pulling out the folders now. I'm going to go sign the timesheet, y'all. You know I can't pause it, unfortunately, so I'm going to leave the phone in here. I'm going to go sign the timesheet, and I'll be back. y'all, that was a much longer pause than I anticipated. I'm sorry about that. Bad idea to make the video now, but it's just that I really don't want to, do this when I'm home. So I think what I'll do is I'll put a timestamp in the description box and comment section. Same area where I was just telling y'all about those links. I'll put a timestamp to when I come back in the video, so y'all can just click on it. Unfortunately, you're you're not going to hear that until the end of the long pause, so you might have just fast forwarded through it anyways. Hopefully you checked out the links, and saw the timestamp. I don't know, but I'm going to put it there for you guys. Let me catch my breath, y'all. I ran to the car because I know I had you guys on hold. Also, too recently with what I documented in my last video, the Havana syndrome that I suspect has been happening to me hardcore these last 2 weeks. I have been feeling winded, similar to what was happening to me at the end of last year. So it's a mix of things. Even my jog was so much more difficult yesterday because it's hotter now. It's summertime. I talked about this in recent videos. And then also to the Havana syndrome, I believe is causing some shortness of breath. I've seen that that's a symptom of it. So that's happening, y'all. Let me just catch my breath. Whew. I already had y'all on hold for so long and I'm on 9%. But let me catch my breath. Anyway, y'all. So they're just trying to fearmonger. Long story short, I don't want to stay on stuff too long because you see all these things I have to talk about. I'm on 9% and I have 40 more minutes left on the clock. So let me see if I can get through all of these things within the time frame and with the battery percentage that I have. Anyway, so yesterday morning, like I told y'all, that was when this thing happened. I was on Amazon Prime, and in the movies we think you will like, they had the bird flu movie. Mind you, that movie is from years ago, but they put that there as a movie they think I would like. Of course, fear-mongering. And it was just showing how this pandemic was breaking out with bird flu. And so, of course, naturally, if you haven't, I heard about bird flu back in the day. I'm 32. I remember when it was a thing. But I wasn't really familiar with it like that. And so naturally, most people, when they see a movie like that, you're going to look up the illness, right? That's a natural reaction. I looked it up. I find out that there's some recent outbreak of bird flu apparently in the States right now amongst cattle. It's not amongst people right now, but the CDC is keeping an eye out on it. So, that made me feel paranoid, right? I think that was their intention. But anyways, whatever. I'm watching the movie, right? It's a decent movie. It was an okay movie, an over-exaggeration. Apparently people catching it is very rare, is a rare occurrence in the first place. But it's something that can happen. Typically, if you work with livestock, if you work with cattle, etc., but you can get it from an animal's bodily fluid. So for instance, if you're drinking cow milk and there's an outbreak amongst cows, you can catch it. And it has a very high mortality rate. So although it's rare for humans to catch it, if you do catch it, God forbid, Yah forbid, I rebuke it in the name of Yeshua, then it's a big deal because there's I think a 50% mortality rate. It's a lot more deadly than COVID. It's scary. Anyways, so they know I'm a hypochondriac and they sent me that stupidness. So I'm watching the movie. That was a good movie. Some of the main characters in the movie are nurses. You have military personnel, etc. So one of the main characters is this Hispanic nurse and her military boyfriend, or I think fiance, or he might have been her husband. I'm not sure. Right? And so I'm watching. I'm not having an issue. Remember, I told you they've sensitized me to that. So I do feel uncomfortable around that stimuli now, or when I see it, just as I do with the other things they've sensitized me to, right? But nothing was happening. I was acting normal. I was watching. I wasn't having the awkward reaction that does happen to me from time to time with the things they sensitize me to. I notice now she's having a conversation with her husband and she's telling him she's pregnant, right? So instantly I felt bad for her. It's a movie. It's not real life. But I was like, dang, I just thought this. I didn't even say it out loud. She's talking about wanting to go back to work, basically. And her husband's kind of trying to tell her, look, you need to quit now, because it's such a high mortality rate. A lot of the nurses were dying and she was pregnant. And so I said, wow, she really needs to think about the child. This is what I thought in my head. I just said, wow, she's got to think about her child. I said, that's rough. She's got to quit. I said, that's rough. I said, she needs to quit. I thought this in my head. I said, that's rough. She needs to quit and think about her child is what I thought in my head. And so she was telling him she didn't want to quit. She can't quit now. And so he was basically just kind of arguing with her about it, but not vehemently. It wasn't like he was being nasty or he was supportive of her and everything she wanted to do. But he was concerned, which is understandable because there's such a high mortality rate with the thing and she's pregnant. But when I thought whatever I thought, And then she made the decision to keep working to making noise campaign. They always try to paint you as a villain and make noise campaigns and create these false narratives. And they were already trying to sensitize me to her anyway. As soon as she got on the screen, they started making noises, right? I was ignoring it. So that happens, and that made me awkward when they made that noise. And I said, well, there's nothing wrong with what I thought. If she's pregnant with a child, this is not a selfish decision. And it's not a decision about her anymore. It's about her unborn child. That's what I was saying, stuff like that. Arguing stupidly with the gang stalkers in the noise campaign when they're just literally trying to invoke, again, a wrathful response from me. I'm so stupid for always responding. Anyway, that created this awkward now feeling towards them, the couple on the screen. So now they're having this lovey-dovey moment, and, he's, I think, engaging to her, or not engaging to her. He set up like this romantic dinner for her, and, they're kissing up, and they're just making noise campaign and making me feel uncomfortable, and I'm getting the stupid, awkward look on my face that happens to me from time to time. And it wasn't happening initially. So I remember that irritating the crap out of me, and shortly before that happened in the movie where they were sensitizing me to that couple, I had taken the movie off. I was watching it in the wee hours. People are always up watching me. Always. But as it gets, I told y'all, closer to my shift ending and closer to the earlier hours, right? Or I should say later hours, technically, where people are waking up and getting ready for work, more people on the road revving up. More people are watching me, right? And it feels more uncomfortable. So I was like, let me finish this movie now that it's getting to these hours, closer to me getting off. Let me finish watching this when I go home. That's what I thought in my head, right? I put on Facebook. I'm just scrolling through Facebook, man. I'm minding my business. I'm just watching different stuff. I come across this Jamaican chef. Good looking guy, yes. That wasn't why I stopped. They know I'm greedy. And not greedy in a bad way, because they like to paint false narratives, and then they'll run with the fact that I said I'm greedy and that's going to be the new thing. I mean, greedy as in I'm saying that in a joking, jovial way. I like food, right? They know that. I love watching these food videos. I like to cook myself. I'm always stopping on these food videos. They know that because they watch me like a hawk. I didn't stop because the man looked good. Yeah, he looked good. Shit, it was double stimuli. Yeah, it was nice. That's not why I stopped. I stopped because the food he was cooking looked good, and I like Jamaican food. I've dated 2 Jamaican men, right? I was in a relationship with one. I like Jamaican food. So I'm watching him cooking the food, right? They're revving by and making noise because apparently he's too attractive to be on my screen. I don't know what the problem was. They're revving by like crazy. Every time a man that looks attractive comes on my screen, they're revving by like crazy. I don't know what the problem is. Right? And so, then some weird, creepy things started to play. And, you know how they like to send stuff in between, right? On my Facebook, something that mentioned something. I don't remember what it was, and they're revving by for that too. I'm like, what is wrong with them? And I was going on about the fact that it seems like some sort of problem where they don't want me looking at attractive people, or I don't know what it is. It sounds ignorant. I can't tell you what it is. I noticed that anytime an attractive man is on my screen, they're making, like, as soon as the thing come on the screen, I'm like, what? What is the problem? Just trying to figure out what's going on, right? So anyways, I said, you know what? This is defeating the purpose. The whole reason I took off the movie was because I didn't want the bullshit with the revving by. I put on Facebook, it's still a problem. I'm like, let me go back to the movie. Put the movie on now. They're doing this with the couple, trying to sensitize me to this couple and this Hispanic woman, right? So he's being lovey-dovey and treating her good. They're making noise campaign like that's supposed to be something that I'm against, or that's something that's supposed to bother me. So of course my face is getting the awkward look, and it irritates me when that happens. I'm like, they're creating this thing and trying to sensitize me to things that I never had a reaction to before. It's so irritating. And so I remember just getting irritated. And then I noticed all of a sudden, now this could have been a coincidence, but they like to gang stalk. All of a sudden I see this random car pull up with this Spanish lady inside, right? Coincidentally, right? So I purposely looked down. I would not look up because I knew what they were doing. Of course I'm cognizant of what's going on. I'm doing security. So when the car first pulled up, we don't have many cars coming in at this hour. The few cars that do come in, typically they work at the barber shop, the nail shop, or they're the maintenance people, right? And they have their area where they park. You don't have much people parking over here by security at this hour of the morning. It happens sometimes. It doesn't happen often. Right as that awkward thing was happening with that lady and her husband, and they're trying to create stuff as usual. Right as that's happening, all of a sudden, coincidentally, the Spanish lady pulls up randomly and parks right next, across from my car. I'm telling you, before the lady could even come out her car, I looked down because I knew what they were doing. I don't know for sure. I don't want to bear false witness. These things where it's like it's obvious, but you can't prove it. And remember, I told y'all, the theme of my targeting is bearing false witness. So I was like, let me just stay looking that I refuse to look up. I did not look up until this lady left, She went in there for a couple seconds. I don't even know what she was going in there for. A couple seconds, she left. It was just like obvious that it was likely gang stalking. Right? Then she left. I'm just like, these people are crazy with what they're doing. I'm like, what the hell? Right? So anyways, that happened. That was one thing where, again, they were throwing the Spanish thing at me. They've been doing it like crazy, man. They don't stop. Like, it's relentless. Because I talked about it. They were already doing it, by the way. But because I talked about it, again, like everything else that I've talked about, when I point out things that they're doing or things they're trying to sensitize me to, they start to aggressively try to sensitize me more to whatever it is I pointed out. It's this weird thing they do. And even just now when I said it, the bird drone started going off. It's crazy gaslighting shit they're doing. And it's still, to me, like, I'm baffled as to why. I know why, right? I know why they did their research. They figured out who the dude was and they saw he married someone Spanish. But I never said anything about Spanish women. And when I was talking to him decades ago in high school, he was dating black women. I had never known him to date a Spanish girl. The insecurity came from colorism because it seemed as though he had a preference for lighter skinned women, which wasn't what the problem was. The problem was that he also used to say negative things about darker skinned women. And that was where the insecurity came in. Because I'm like, I'm not dark skinned, but I'm not light skinned either. I'm young, I'm in high school, impressionable. This is the guy I thought I was in love with. You see where I'm going with this? That could take a toll on someone's mind or psyche at that age. Not now. I've dated so much men since then. I didn't even date him. Let me reiterate that. We were best friends. This was years ago, decades ago, in high school. I'm 32 and I have dated so many men since then. And that's what I'm going to show in this video, by the way. There's several reasons why. First of all, I want to show you, to segue off of what I was saying about them doing their research and figuring out who he was. They also did their research and figured out who the Jamaican guy I talked about in my videos, from 2 years ago. Remember I told you I was with this Jamaican guy in 2022 and I broke up with him? And I kept saying his name was Horatio. I was saying it big and bold because he's from Florida. I never thought they would find him. Somehow they did research and found this man and had him send me, you know how they just recruit people that you know from your past? Had him send me a message on Facebook. This is to tell you they found him because my name wasn't my name. Now I have my real name up on Facebook. When he sent me those messages back in March, I didn't have my full name up on Facebook purposefully, right? We have no mutual friends. It's to the point that when he sent me the message, he didn't even go over into the message request box. He went over into the spam box. They thought it was spam. Facebook thought it was spam because him and I have no mutual friends. Somehow they found him and they gave him my Facebook info and he started sending me messages. Crazy shit, y'all. So there's a double reason, right? I want to show you the guys I've dated so you can understand that I've long forgotten that guy from high school. No disrespect to him. First of all, he's married. Second of all, I have dated so much men since him, real relationships. So what happened with him in high school isn't something of the now. But second of all, I also want to show y'all that they actually are doing their research and figuring out the people I'm talking about and even recruiting, it seems, some of them, right? And this guy could easily be recruited. Him and I didn't really end on a bad note per se. But I did break up with him. It was to the point where his mom kept calling me and I felt so bad about it. I had to delete my WhatsApp. And the reason I broke up with him was he was too immature. He had potential, but he was too immature. He wasn't taking, I felt, life seriously, and I had things in order for me. I felt like I had goals. And I felt like he had goals. He graduated and then he kind of just stopped, like he gave up. There was this test he was supposed to take. He graduated from Florida Career College, right? He was supposed to become an LPN, right? He couldn't pass the test. Instead of trying to take the test again, he kind of just started getting content in where he was at in life. I'm not trying to sound stuck up. I'm just being real with you why I broke up with him. It was that in addition to the fact that he was very immature. He was a year younger than me, which is not much younger. But men mature slower than women. Women mature, they say, at least 4 years more than men. So typically you should try to date an older man if possible. I know that things are different. Some people, you might end up dating a younger dude and it works out for you. I typically like to date older men, not much older, because I remember I said that last year and they purposely, started making old men add me on Facebook with their bullshit. When I say older men, I mean 5 to 7 years older. 7 is a reach, That's what I mean. So anyways, that's why I broke up with him, and his mom, kept calling me, and I at the point, after a while, I stopped answering because I felt bad, and I deleted my WhatsApp. And so he could very easily be recruited. It would not be hard to recruit this guy, right? Anyway, so let me show y'all real quickly. Oh, before I show y'all, the other reason why I want to show y'all this, it's a triple reason. So not just to show you that they're finding the people I talked about and doing thorough research and somehow finding and even recruiting some of them, it seems, but also to show you again that I've dated so many men since talking to that guy, not dating, in high school. But then also the other thing that they're trying to paint, right? The thing that I don't talk about anymore because I got so much backlash for it. They've been throwing so much bullshit at me, low-key, subs at me about that thing. I never talk about the thing because I got so much backlash for it. Even though I felt like I was right in the thing, not initially in the bearing false witness, but in everything else that followed, I felt like I was right. I stopped. They're still doing bullshit. So again, me showing these men is also to show you, even with him, I've dated so much men since that thing too, right? So you can understand, right? Because yesterday, went to the laundry, y'all. I put some clothes in the machine. I'm targeted, so I never like to sit anywhere for too long because people are staring at you. You have these cameras on you. Until I could get these cameras off me, I'm constantly on the move. I'm never trying to sit stagnant for too long unless I'm doing security. I'm at work. I have no choice. I don't like sitting for too long because they're staring at you. They're revving by. It's just uncomfortable, man. Right? 4%. Let me try to hurry up. Damn. I might have to do like a 2-part. I didn't want to, man. I should have just waited to make this video. I'm gonna see if I can find a merger app where it doesn't black out the screen. All the other merger apps, it's like they're hacking it and compromising it, and it's not working for me. And the one merger app I found that works for me, y'all know what happens when I make multiple clips. It blacks the screen out. And I have stuff I'm trying to show y'all in this video. Anyway, so as you can see, it says parked up to eat cereal, obsessed lover, right? So I put my stuff in the washing machine, and I don't like sitting stagnant in any one place. So I just drove. I was trying to drive and leave the laundry. I didn't want to sit there for too long, and just feel like I'm being watched or whatever. So I saw whatever the time was on the machine. I set my alarm, ran home. I live right next to the laundromat. Ran home to get a bowl of cereal. Left again. I went to get some stuff, and then I ended up parking up near my neighborhood in this kind of like you could say shopping plaza that's like right next to my neighborhood. I'm parked up. I'm trying to eat my cereal quickly. While I'm doing so, so I don't feel awkward, I decide to go on YouTube. I'm looking through YouTube. They were sending bullshit to me in the recommended, trying to sensitize me to these false narratives and these different things like I talked about, y'all, recently in my recent videos, like my shadow networking part 5 video. Or the video I recently posted where I was talking about, where you see the thumbnail of the officer and the girl. And what did I title that video? I'm trying to remember, because in that video, I really talked about the Spanish girl sensitization too, if you want to hear more details about that. It's that recent video, y'all. I don't remember the title of it, but just scroll down. It's not much further down. I'm sure you've probably seen it if you're watching this video. The thumbnail with the officer holding the girl's arm. It's a drawing. I'm showing y'all the shadow networking and how they paint these false narratives. Excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry. I had a Pepsi not too long ago, and so I'm full of gas. I'm trying to speed through this thing, right? So anyway, I'm parked up, and I'm eating cereal, and I'm just watching one of these stupid things they threw in my recommended. And it said, so I didn't even click on it. I was just reading through the different videos, trying to see what I'm going to click on. And I see something about obsessed lover, stabs X. It said obsessed lover stabs X. You know how they like to make the noise campaigns when certain things play? I was just talking about that in my recent videos. I don't remember which one. All of a sudden in the background, I hear them turn on. It wasn't a grass cutter, but it was one of those. I looked at them flying the thing in my face. No, never mind. That wasn't that. That was a fuzz. It was one of those machines. I don't know what it was. It wasn't a grass cutter. It was one of those machines that they turned on that does yard work. I'm not sure what it was. So I heard, I'm like, what the hell? So I looked this way and I heard a little rev by too. I'm like, what? I'm like, they're still painting this false narrative. They know full well it's not true at this point. They're still painting it because they don't like me as a person, just like the child thing, right? Just like the other stuff that they're painting because they don't like me as a person, painting this false narrative, these false narratives with an S. I broke it down. I even provided an evidence video. I provided several videos about the thing. I'm not going to talk about it too much. I learned my lesson. I'm just now, because of what I'm about to show y'all I'm not no obsessed lover. I've dated several men since him. And he too, like the guy from high school, I never had anything romantic with. I was never with him. And it was even less intense than the guy from high school, because the guy from high school I actually thought I was in love with. Our feelings didn't run that deep. Me and this guy. We had a friendship. I'm not going to sit here and try and downplay the thing, right? We had a friendship. We were talking and getting to know each other. The feelings didn't go that deep where I'm in love, madly in love, and this. It wasn't that, right? That's first of all. Second of all, I already showed y'all. Look at how they're revving up with the craziness, right? They're just mad because they think I'm a bitch because of the receipt video that I provided. If you look at the receipt video, you can see that I wasn't even let me not do it because they're going to start to create stuff. It wasn't that. That's all I'm going to say, right? It's not what they're trying to create. The reason I talked about it again, I reiterate, is because when I was in the neighborhood that my parents coincidentally, and I didn't mean to do the air quotes. I'm just telling you, I think the thing is spiritual. Right down to what happened with what I talked about with his cousin. So much crazy shit, y'all, that you don't even understand. Like, where I'm like, this shit has to be spiritual. I don't think my parents were in cahoots with him all the way back then when they moved in the neighborhood where his family lives, right? So it's just all these weird coincidences, and it just seems spiritual to me, right? But we're living in that neighborhood with his people. A lot of his family lives there, right? That's the neighborhood where I met him in. When my targeting started in 2020, right, and the watching on camera and the noise campaigns and the neighborhood watch involvement started, it started in that neighborhood with him, well, not with him, with his family. His dad used to be in the bush right next to our house, grazing goats. And I was hearing a lot of noise campaign outside. I told y'all while I was getting ready for work when I was still teaching, there was a morning where I was putting clippings in my hair, and I used to flat iron my hair. My hair was a lot longer then. They're making horse noises outside the window. They're going, nay, nay. You understand? They took the current right before I left Island, before I ever made videos, y'all, because I never planned to do it, but I did end up doing it. Right before I left Island, they took the current. I keep telling y'all this. I was in the shower washing my mask off. I had just worked out. I was washing my turmeric mask off. My story never changes. And outside, I'm hearing a bunch of noise when they took the current, coincidentally, right as I'm in the shower washing my mask off. And they were doing that heavily in that neighborhood. They were hardcore doing that, taking the current every 5 seconds to gang stalk. Right? And so I'm there with the mask dripping off my face. This is before I ever made videos, y'all. Before I tried to relocate off Island. The thing dripping off my face. And all then I was dealing with noise campaigns. His dad used to rev by in a big truck. There was a lot going on in that neighborhood. And I had already dealt with whatever in the past with that situation. So understand why I talked about it in my videos. It's not an obsessed lover. It's an upset person that was bullied. And then realized that somehow the person that was involved in my bullying, it seems like linked up with the people in my close circle. Why would you think I wouldn't make videos? So anyways, so I'm washing the mask off. I come out from washing the mask off. I had to feel my way around the house and find drinking water to finish washing the mask off. I didn't even really bathe good. I couldn't finish bathing. I went out on the porch pissed because we're in pitch blackness and I can hear the noise campaign outside. So I know it's again them doing the gang stalking because they were doing it a lot back then. Again, before I left Island, before I ever made videos, I hear laughing in the bush. And conversation, I look down. I see my dad laughing with his dad in the bush. Oh, they took the current? Oh, wow. This was before I ever made videos about the man. So understand, I keep saying this in my videos. They're purposely painting the false narrative because they don't like me. Just like with the child thing and everything else. It's not about obsessed lover. Him and I were never lovers. It's annoying when they do that. Him and I were never together. I never even kissed him. Never even hugged him. I hugged him once. When I met him that first time, I hugged him once. So stop painting the false narrative. That's not why I made the videos. I made the videos because a lot of gang stalking was happening in that neighborhood. His family was involved, and I couldn't believe that it seemed like my family had linked up with his. After they knew what happened with me with the bullying and stuff that started happening, after what happened with him when him and I met, and I kept accusing him. So I understand I was wrong initially. I keep saying that, the accusations. I done said sorry. What do you want from me? You want a toe? You want a foot? What do you want? So they're doing all of that shit, right, in that neighborhood before I ever left Island. I didn't make a video. I tried to leave. I came back. I'm still living in that neighborhood. They're doing one set of noise campaigns still. And so I talked about it in my videos. How is that an obsessed lover? They're such gaslighters, man. So anyways, that pisses me off to no end. Even more than the high school thing and the Spanish lady thing and all that bullshit. That one there pisses me off because I was bullied for years. You don't understand. And then it come to find out later that then my people get kind of link up with his people. That's why I talked about it in my videos. That's where the tiff is. Understand that. So anyways, and they're not stupid. I know they're not stupid. They're purposely painting false narratives. Anyway, I'm on 1%. My God, and y'all, I'm gonna have to do a part 2. So just understand that there's 3 reasons why I'm showing you these men that I'm about to show you, my exes. Not all of them. I've dated so many men. These are just a small handful that I'm about to show you. First of all, I'm showing you them so you can see that they actually did their research and somehow found my Jamaican ex from 2 years ago. That's in Florida. I didn't even give his last name. I'm showing you them so you can see that I've dated so many men since the dude in high school that they keep trying to sensitize me to because I briefly mentioned him in my full story. And also showing you them so you can see I've dated so many men since this dude. Anyways, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. You don't even know how much men I've dated, especially when I was in Florida. Anyways, I gotta end this, y'all, because if the phone dies before I end it, what's gonna end up happening is the whole video is gonna be gone. So I'm gonna end it here, and I'm gonna see if I can find a video merger app where I can merge the clips and not like compromise the visual. All right. So I'll be back, y'all. All right, y'all, I'm back with the next clip. As y'all can see, I'm at work right now again. This is like 2 nights later. Reason being is there's just several things that happened at the house that made me not want to record. You know, there's certain things I want to talk about in this video, aside from showing you my exes. And it would have felt uncomfortable saying some of these things in a household, since some of what I'm going to talk about pertains to somebody that I live with. I'm not going to say too much. I already told y'all what happens when I talk about the people in my close circle. I might end up out in the streets. But there is something I want to document, you know, and talk about, because I just don't understand. It's just so unfair what happens with that situation in particular and how I'm going to talk about it in a minute. I'm not going to say too much about it, but I do want to talk about whatever, you know. But this is a continuation of me displaying my exes, right? So the first thing, guys, I wanted to do was just expound on something before I show you guys. Ignore those lyrics up there, y'all. I'm actually writing a song. There's a target here on YouTube. I don't know if it should. I'm keeping it real. I don't even know if I could tell he's a real target. I'm the one who found him last year. And, you know, sometimes I find targets and I'll just follow them and I'll just write in the comment section, subscribed. And this is how I've gotten some of my followers. And then some of you find me the same way, right? So I found him last year. I was watching a couple of his videos, and I subscribed to him. I just wrote subscribed underneath his video. I noticed he answered me a couple times, and I'm gonna let you know he is white. And the reason I'm saying that is because, remember, they've sensitized me to race, especially white people, because of the offensive stuff I shared in my car in Florida. So a lot of the targets that they've successfully been able to, I want to say, it seems like, turn against me. I'm not sure if it's that they're turning these targets against me, or if they're using the shadow networking and making it seem like they're saying certain things in their videos. Because remember, I've already shown y'all in several videos, they have the technology to change people's videos. But I did notice him and I were like conversing under one of his videos, and he just totally stopped answering me. And that's happened with several targets. And I realized they've probably just sent the offensive stuff I shared in my car in Florida, and the target stops responding. Right? So I noticed I stopped hearing from him, and I wasn't really too pressed about it because I understand that, right? But then next, you know, earlier, I want to say like a couple months, let me not over exaggerate. Yeah, like 2 months ago. I was going to say a couple months ago, but it was about 2 months ago. I noticed he started to slowly start commenting under some of my stuff. So I don't know if he's heard my videos and came around, or if they've recruited him, because they do that. They recruit. It seems to me from the research I've done, like they'll take real targets. Like they have fake targets. They're called plants that are on YouTube. But then they have real targets too that they'll bargain with, you know, and get them to gang stalk other targets that they consider to be more of a whatever for them, right? They're revving my, there's such haters on the road. I can't stand them. Anyway, so I don't know if that's what's going on, and I don't want to bear false witness because the guy seems genuine. But I'm just saying I'm not sure. You know, you never know as a target. Anyways, nonetheless, he started writing on my stuff a couple months ago, and so we've kind of been in communication a little bit, not like hardcore, but every now and then talking back and forth, and him just saying motivational stuff under my videos. And he's told me about my music, you know, that he's complimented my music. I'm sorry that I started stammering, y'all. You know how they are on the road. I don't really make music like that. It's hard to explain. If you listen to my stuff, you'll understand what I'm saying. I write poetry, right? And I have a cadence. So I've always been able to freestyle rap. I've been that way since I was younger, but I've never been a rapper per se. I'm more of a poet, and rap is a form of poetry, but poetry is not necessarily rap. So I've never been the kind to sit there and like write raps and record, and that didn't start until college, really. That didn't start until 2018 when I actually started recording because of a fluke opportunity that presented itself via my brother-in-law. But I have always been able to rap. I've always had a cadence. I've always liked to freestyle. And so if you listen to my poetry, you'll notice that I'm saying it with a cadence to the beat, so it almost emulates rapping, but it's not rapping. If you listen to it, it sounds different to a rap song, right? So I'm really just a poet, and I just do kind of spoken word over music, but I have a cadence, so it sounds like rapping a little bit. Anyway, so he's been commenting under my stuff and said we should work together and stuff. And of course I was open to it. He even said he's going to interview me. I don't know if it's, like I said, I don't know if it's gang stalking or what, but I'm open to it, right? So him and I have been conversing. He seems genuine. And he sent me a beat recently. He's a producer. He does music himself, right? And I noticed some music on his page, right? And it's legit. I already hear them making noise in the background. Like I said, I found him last year, and he has stuff from years ago, before I was even targeted. He's been targeted longer than me. So he is genuinely a producer. Anyway, so he sent me this beat that he made that sounds really dope. And I already in my head had been thinking that I wanted to make like a, what's the word I'm looking for? A revamped version of Love Don't Live Here Anymore. I was thinking about how I could take the beat and change it up and create like a revamped version of it and write a poem to it. I already had that in my head before he even sent me the beat he sent me. And then he sent me the beat. I was like, this is perfect. Like I already started hearing the lyrics in my head. I'm like, this is perfect. And so that's when I started creating. So that's what those lyrics are, y'all. Oh my God, I went off of it. It's them. What they do, the noise in the background, it messes me up. And then I start going off on tangents and I have ADD. Anyway, so that's what those lyrics are, y'all. I'm working on something. And I am experimenting with auto-tune. I even did a chorus. I can't sing. But I said the chorus of Love Don't Live Here Anymore the way that I envisioned it in my head. And then I used auto-tune to make it sound good. And so I'm just working on something, y'all. That's all. You'll hear it soon enough. Anyways, I came in here before I show y'all my exes. I came in here because I wanted to talk about two things real quick. So first of all, with the guy from high school, I know y'all have noticed in recent videos, I want to say like within the last 2 months, because that's when they've been really sensitizing me even more than last year to Hispanic women, especially in the gym. So that's, and also via the shadow networking. So these last 2 months I've talked about him, I almost want to say excessively, nowhere near as bad as any of the other people I've talked about in my videos, but more than I talked about him before, that guy from high school. Really what it was is I mentioned him briefly in my full story. And he was one of many people I mentioned, just telling my story and some of the things I've been through, And the only reason I mentioned him was because I was trying to explain why I made the ignorant comment about Dominicans to that guy, the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy, when shit hit the fan with him and I said those offensive things in response to whatever he sent me. I just was trying to explain why I made that comment. I was trying to explain one of the experiences I had with a Dominican that I felt was ignorant, but I already admitted that me making that comment in and of itself was ignorant. I've already apologized for it too, but I'm just trying to explain why I even talked about that guy in the first place, because again, that was years ago in high school. But when they took what I said and tried to weaponize it against me and even started to create this thing with Hispanic women, that was when now I talked about it more prevalently, and still not even. I only talked about it after I realized what they were doing one other time last year, right? Talked about it one other time and I didn't talk about it again. And then the beginning of this year was when I really started to now talk about the thing. Not even the beginning of this year. I want to say about 3 months ago was when I started talking about it because of what was happening in the gym. And that was what led to me talking about that specific thing more about 3 months ago, right? So it's been now about 4 videos where I've talked about the thing because of what they're doing, and then they'll gaslight you about it, and then next they're gonna create this thing that I'm obsessed with him too, right? That's gonna be the new thing, even though they know I wasn't talking about him at all, right? But these last 3 months, because of the sensitization, right, that's happening, I started talking about and expounding on the situation. They would create it like I'm obsessed with him too. Like this is the stuff they do. They're gaslighters, professional gaslighters. So I just wanted to clarify why I even brought him up in the first place. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, only mentioned guy for only said so much men not. Oh, in the last clip, my grammar was terrible, y'all. You know how that is. I already told y'all I'm not a good public speaker, and when I listen back to these videos, sometimes like I'm really cringing. when I listened to that last video, I kept saying I dated so much men. That's horrible grammar. I meant to say so many men. And I did say it eventually in the last clip, but several times I noticed I said so much men. It just was making me cringe. The OCD in me, I had to correct that. And then lastly, what I wanted to talk about was expound on Horatio, the Jamaican ex from 2022, because I noticed when I was listening back to the clip where I talked about the fact that I broke up with him because it felt like he wasn't taking life seriously and he couldn't pass the LPN test. They're making noise in the background. You know, they like to create this thing like I'm a monster, and they try to paint this false narrative, and they like to run with anything, and they're professionals at taking the things I say out of context. I said that he was immature. Then I went on to specify one of the reasons why I felt like he was immature. He was just immature in general, but that was one of the main reasons. It wasn't because he couldn't pass the test. It was the lack of motivation, him just giving up and not willing to keep trying. That was the lack of motive. That was what it was. It wasn't the fact that he couldn't pass. If I had saw him really trying and trying and trying and trying, then I would have been like, okay, I even told him I'll help you study. He just, like, you went through like a whole freaking set of years to get your degree, and then you're gonna give up because you couldn't pass the test. Like, that's what didn't I just couldn't. That's what it was. It was that and several other things. He's just immature in general. Anyway, let me show you guys these exes now. And again, I reiterate, these are not all of my exes. These are just a few. I'm just showing you to, first of all, again, show you that they're doing their research and they're looking up the people I'm talking about in my videos. I'm going to specifically show you the Jamaican guy and how he sent me the message and it went to the spam box because him and I had no mutual friends. So they obviously gave him my Facebook info. So just showing you how they're recruiting people from my past and doing their research about the people I talk about, but then also showing you some of the men I've dated since the guy from high school, which was decades ago, and even the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy. So no, I'm not obsessed. I've been dating and living my life. And actually, anyway, I'm not going to go into it. I already told y'all what happened in 2018 when they hacked my dating website, when I first went up to school for the second time. So anyways, let me go ahead and show you. So let me show you the Jamaican guy. So as you can see, I cut out his name so you wouldn't see his name. Doesn't matter anyway, right? You could see he graduated from Florida Career College, right? This is him and his sister, right? Got his whole degree. The man gave up. He would not try to pass the test. This is him. You can see, right? I had a boyfriend right there in 2022. As a matter of fact, y'all, I've only been single this long because I'm now targeted. You know what happens when you're targeted. It's weird with me. I'm a relationship kind of girl where I'm in relationships constantly, but they don't usually last long. The longest relationship I've ever been in was a year. They don't last long. It's always me, and I can admit that. Like, I'm always finding some sort of flaw in the person, and I can admit that. That's a flaw of mine. I can admit that. But I've been in several relationships. I'm a relationship type of girl, and my targeting is what's been impeding that, among other things. Anyway, so this is him. I was with him. First of all, I started talking to him. I met him in 2019. So 2018 was when the whole dating website debacle happened. And I explained to y'all why that happened. I was dating men online. First of all, let me explain what happened. When I was in school, I told you guys the men on campus were too young for me. There was this basketball guy that was on the basketball team that I kind of briefly talked to, too immature, younger than me. Remember, again, I was 26, y'all, when I was in school, dealing with people that are younger. You know the age of people in college. Of course, the ages vary, but 26, you're an older college student. I also dated this producer that was on campus. He was too young too, and he was on some shady stuff. He kept hitting me up at 3, 4 a.m. trying to get me to come to his room. So this is the type of energy the guys on campus were on. They were younger and they were looking for what they were looking for. So I was staying, I wasn't meeting men. Like, I'm just going to keep it real. I wasn't going out like that. When I was in school, I told you guys for the second time, I wasn't going out. I was in the computer lab and I was focused. I was writing papers all night long and I was focused on finishing school and graduating. And my only opportunity to meet men were on campus and or when I went to work, right? And I didn't work at the time. I hadn't started working yet. I started working and subbing as a substitute for Broward County Public Schools later in 2018. So at this time, I wasn't really they're making noise in the background. It's irritating me, the bird. And so at this time, I wasn't out there. I wasn't putting myself out there to meet men. And the men that I came into contact with on campus weren't it. They were not it. So this is what led to me going on the dating website. You know, I already told you someone in my close circle who was attending school with me showed me Tinder. And she told me about it. You know, she was telling me her and her friends were trying it. I saw the options. I said, okay, well, there are older men there that look, you know, more my speed. So I remembered going on there and kind of looking through and not really liking when I actually got on there, the vibe. I didn't like it. It seemed like it was a hookup app. That's what it seemed like. And that's what, you know, my sister, whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't mean to say that. The stupid noises in the background is messing me up. You know, I do not want to reveal people in this video. But this is what the person in my close circle was telling me, that her and her friends were kind of realizing it's like a hookup app. So I was done with the dating apps, you know, and then that same year, I had a cousin, the same cousin I told y'all that kind of grew up with me, that was like a sister to me, you know, that I looked up to. She came down to South Florida very briefly, and she was using what's it called, Plenty of Fish. And so she started telling me about Plenty of Fish, and she was showing me this nice guy she met on there. I was like, let me give this dating app thing a try one more time, because I'm not going out there, you know, I'm not putting myself out there. The men I'm meeting on campus are young and immature, you know, and they're only after one thing. So I was like, let me try Plenty of Fish. And so I went on and I started using the dating app, and I started noticing weird activity on the dating app. And I started realizing that it was likely hacked. And then I met the guy named Kadan, and I have witnesses to this. This is not just stuff I'm saying out the side of my neck, and they know they did this too. This is what's crazy about the gaslighting. I met the guy named Kadan. I'm not trying to go into the details too much, y'all. I've talked about this in several videos. I met the guy named Kadan, who seemed to be everything that they knew I would like in a man. You know, they knew, those people that knew me, right? They knew that I was interested in law school, that I had considered law school. He was a law student at FIU, right? He was into holistic health. They knew I was into holistic health. He was into working out. They know that I was a fitness fanatic, right? Everything that I would look for in a man is what Kadan was. He was like the classic honeypot. And so then I'm talking to Kadan, right? I send him some pictures from Facebook, some old pictures from Facebook, 3 old pictures, right? One was about 2 years ago with my mom. One was in a white tracksuit from my Tallahassee days in my early 20s. That's how old the picture was. And then I forgot what the third picture was. I can't remember. But I noticed I sent him those pictures. I texted those pictures to him. So I screenshot them off of Facebook, did not interact with the pictures. I screenshot them and I texted them to Kadan. And then I noticed him starting to act weird after I sent him the pictures. And then I went on Facebook and I saw that the cyber stalking, cyberbullying guy that I've talked about in these videos that I got so much backlash for liked 2 of the pictures. And I showed my sister, and she was trying to tell me it was an algorithm. And also, the Kadan guy was saying weird, what's the word I'm looking for? Weird sensitized stuff. Stuff that they kind of sensitized me to when I started getting cyber stalked and cyber bullied. When I was hanging up the phone with him, he said, I had told him goodbye. You know, and I used to have this OCD where I didn't like to say goodbye because it felt permanent. So I used to like to say later, right? And that was something I was sensitized to with that situation. He said, not goodbye, but see you later. You know, my story doesn't change. You can listen to stories from all the way last year. Every video I've said the same thing. And I have witnesses too, to what happened. So it's gaslighting. They just don't like me as a person. They know what happened. Look at the noise. They know what happened. They just don't like me as a person. So understand, when I moved on, I was trying to live my life. And I even left Island, I was still being cyber stalked and cyber bullied in Florida while I'm in school on a random dating app in Florida. Anyways, so I stopped with the dating app thing. After that Kadan thing, I was totally done with the dating app thing. So 2019 was when I met Horatio. Met him outside of the grocery store. Did not meet him any weird place, right? I was outside of Publix. I was walking out. Somebody pulled up on me. It was hitting on me kind of like how dudes in the islands do it. I wasn't really used to getting pressed up on like that in Florida. You know, typically the dudes in Florida roll on you in a different kind of way. But this is how I knew he was an island man, right? He rolled up on me, pulled up next to me, and started hitting on me. And that was how him and I started talking. I did not get in a relationship with Horatio until 2022, as odd as that is. 2021, excuse me. I got with him in 2021. So even though him and I were talking in 2018, I wasn't interested like that. You know, it was a different vibe for me. You know, it's not even to say like I don't like Jamaicans. I do. You know, it's a different vibe and I love it, right? It's cool. But it was different for me, and he was a real yardie type dude, right? Even though he had stuff going for him. You know, it was just a different vibe that I wasn't used to and I wasn't sure about. I just felt like he might have been a player. Like, that's the vibe I was getting. And then he was also very rough around the edges. And I'm not judgmental. I've dated dudes that are rough around the edges. I have dated dudes that are rough around the edges because I hear them making noises and I know how they like to paint stuff. I have dated dudes that are rough around the edges. But some of the things he used to say and the kind of rough around the edges he was, in addition to the fact that I was getting a vibe like he might be a playboy, I wasn't interested in that way, like a relationship. I was feeling it out and I wasn't interested in getting with him. I didn't actually get with Horatio until after my targeting started, actually, in 2021 when I went back up to Florida. So I was teaching at this time. I was living in the islands when I got with Horatio. And I went up to Florida. It was one of those breaks. I don't remember which holiday it was. I believe spring break, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to say the wrong thing. But I remember we went up there for a couple weeks, my mother and I, and we were staying with my sister. You know, and at this time, COVID was happening. So we weren't in the building teaching. So what was supposed to be a couple week vacation ended up turning into, I think, a month or two of us being up there in Florida because we were teaching virtually. And so I started talking to Horatio again. And this time I did end up in a relationship with him. Like, I was dating him and everything. And this is why I said him and I, all these different things that I said in my video. With him, like, I made sure to get him tested because I know that sounds like I'm paranoid, so I just made sure to get him tested. I took him and I took him to open closet, out the closet, whatever the hell the place is called, and I made sure to get him tested. Anyway, so that's Horatio, and him and I were together. I ended up breaking up with him. Like I told y'all, he was immature, wouldn't take the test, blah 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 blah. Broke up with him. Look at what happened here now. You can see the spam box, right? You can see that it says you may know, and then you have the spam box. The you may know box that you see is not highlighted. Look up at the top, y'all, underneath where it says today and 1:45 a.m. You can see spam highlighted, and then to the left you can say you may know. You can see you may know. In the you may know box, those are messages from people that have mutual friends with you, but you're not friends with them on Facebook. And then the spam box are messages from people that you don't know from anywhere, like you have no mutual friends with them, and their message goes to the spam box, right? You can see him. I scratched out his name, right? He doesn't even have his real name on Facebook, but I scratched his name out so you can see that his message that he sent to me on March 26th, whenever they recruited him, is in the spam box. Okay, so that's to tell you, him and I had no mutual friends for them to even say that my stuff was floating around. My profile was floating around in his mutuals. That doesn't make sense. So they recruited him, right? And I talked about him. I said his full name. I didn't say his last name, but I said his full first name, Horatio. And I even talked about where I took him to get tested out the closet. So I think they did their research and found him. I think I even gave the location of where we went to get tested. So anyways, they found him. And you can see he was calling me, right? You can see he was calling me via Messenger several times. You can see underneath it says, if you accept, Unruly will be able to call you and may see info like your active status and when you read messages. Block, delete, accept. Of course, I didn't accept. But this is how many times he started calling me from February. February, he said hello, right? I didn't answer. I already realized they recruited the man, right? You can see up there too, he tried to call me in February. March, call. March, call. This man was not, listen, he was calling me when we first broke up, and then he stopped. He got an attitude with me. He cussed me out and he stopped. His mother started calling me. I blocked her on WhatsApp. I did not hear from the man again. All of a sudden I relocate, I come back. My targeting changes the way that it does. I talk about him in my videos. All of a sudden, in February, I'm seeing all this from him. This is them. They recruited him. Anyway, next ex that I want to show you guys. This guy, his name, I'm not going to tell you his name. This is the only married man, just so you guys know, that I've ever had any dealings with. And it wasn't what you think either. So with him, I started dating him in 2019, right? I want to say midway 2019 was when I started dating him. I did not know he was married, right? His apartment, he lived by himself, right? He had a good thing going for himself, had his own business, right? Had his own car, had his life on track, you know, attractive guy. He seemed like a good guy. I started dating him and I started falling for him because he had a good personality, right? He was into the same things I was into natural health. He was vegan. He cooked. He could cook. He was also Jamaican. He was half Jamaican, right? He was from New York. He had like that up north swag. That was something different that I liked, right? So I was dating him hardcore. And then I find out that he's separated. So he wasn't married, like to say they were living together and that type of situation. You know, before you divorce somebody, you have to be separated for a year. And so that's what he eventually broke the bombshell to me and explained to me that although he was living by himself, he had a daughter and he was married, but he was separated. And so he was explaining to me that the girl was apparently loose or a hoe or whatever, and he only married her because they had a child together. One of those type of situations, you know, those dudes that do that, like, you know, they shit talk their baby mama or their wife or whoever, and it's really like something is still going on between you and the person. But it wasn't like that. It wasn't like a marriage type thing where he's telling me bullshit and I'm listening to it and dealing with him even though he's home, going home to a wife. It wasn't that situation. He lived by himself. They didn't even live together, right? She lived wherever she lived. He lived by himself, and she lived wherever she lived with their daughter. So he explained to me basically that they were separated. He proved to me that they were separated, and he was explaining to me that they were going to get the divorce and they were still going through the proceedings. This is what he explained to me. He explained to me that she was running him through the ringer. She kept cheating on him. She this, she that. It sounded reasonable. I was getting wary, but at this point I had already started liking him. But I was listening and feeling out the situation because I never want to deal with that like a married man type situation. This is the only married man situation I ever dealt with. And I felt very uncomfortable and weird about it, right? And so from then I already started to kind of feel like, oh, this ain't it. You know, like I was starting to feel that way. But then what really put the nail, not to use this word because you know they make noise campaign for heinous things, but what really put the nail in the coffin or the straw that broke the camel's back was on Father's Day when he told me that she took him out to dinner and he said it was for his daughter. I'm like, you're going out to dinner with your supposed separated wife, right? Y'all are supposed to be like bitter enemies or whatever it is you're trying to explain to me. But you're going out to dinner with her on Father's Day for your daughter? Like that didn't make sense to me. And I just realized it's complicated. And when you're dealing with somebody that's still married, even if it's a separation, it's a bad idea. So that's what made me end it with this guy. That was in 2019. Again, another dude that I dated. This guy, I've talked about him in my videos too, right? Remember I told you guys I had an ex that had a wandering eye that went to the Hebrew church with my sister and I. This is where I met him. I met him in the Hebrew church. And actually, I forgot to mention him. I actually met him before I started doing the dating website thing. I got with him right away as soon as I got in Florida. I forgot to mention that in the timeline. As soon as I went up to Florida in 2018, when I first went up there, we started going to this Hebrew church that my sister used to go to around her neighborhood. And that was when I met him. I started dating him and my younger sister started dating his friend, right? We were the two new girls in the church. And so the guys were all trying to talk to us or whatever was happening. I ended up dating him. Seemed like a good guy. He had his head on his shoulders. At the time, he was not a firefighter yet. He is now. At the time, he was going to school to become a firefighter. I was going to school to get my English degree. So we were both up and coming at the time, right? He was about to get his thing, right? He was just about to graduate when I met him. Had his head on everything, seemed like a good dude, a nice man, God-fearing. You're in the church with me. You know, I don't think you're going to be a dog, right? I noticed the man had a wandering eye, right? I just kept noticing it. Like I'll be sitting next to him in the church and one of the females will get up and he's like breaking his neck, like in front of me too. Like he's breaking his neck, checking out the female in front of me while I'm sitting next to him. And so I told both of my sisters, I kept trying to show them when he was doing the thing because it was like he was doing it so often. He kept, even when we're going out to like church functions, he's doing it. I'm like, what the hell? I was like, what is wrong with this guy? I'm like, he has a problem. And then also too, he wanted to move quick sexually. You know, he's supposed to be this church guy, this church-fearing guy, right? This God-fearing guy. And in the church, and he's pressuring me about having, you know, intercourse with him very quickly. When you're supposed to, I even remember arguing with him about it, and he was telling me that you're supposed to, as a Hebrew woman, you're supposed to please your man, and whatever else he was telling me, man. And I just remembered all of that being sus to me. But I just felt like, well, he's in the church, so, you know, I don't know. I just felt like he was gonna, you know, I don't know, man. I just believed like if I could push through whatever. You know, I just was going along with it. I just felt like he was a good guy and a good catch, and I should have just tried to make it work with him. So anyways, I just kept noticing the wandering eye thing, and it just kept making me feel uneasy, and that intuition type thing was going off. And I told my sisters about it. And I remember my sisters, I don't want to say gaslighting, not gaslighting. I think they thought it was a me thing because they know that I always find flaws in my relationships. And I think they thought it was a me thing. And they're like, you just don't like him like that. This, whatever they were telling me, man, they felt like I didn't like him like that. And I was trying to explain to them that I do. Why wouldn't I? I'm trying to explain to them that he's having a wandering eye. He's checking out everything that's walking by. So anyways, nonetheless, y'all, I ended up breaking up with him. And lo and behold, I was right. He's married now. And the woman he's married to, he had a baby on her. Not to put his business out there. You know, like, this is a random guy from Florida. They can't find him. I didn't say his name. So this is why I don't mind putting his business out there. It's a random dude from Florida that I did not say his name. So anyways, he's married now, but he had a baby on the girl that he's married to. So he does have a problem. And that would have been me had I stayed with him. Anyway, so that's him. this is one of the guys this is the guy, the firefighter guy that I was talking about that had the wandering eye. Okay, the last person, that look at them revving by for this with the crazy shit. That's to tell you, they know so well. They know everything so well, I'm telling you. I made a video about this guy already in the past. This is just my ex from Tallahassee, y'all. The one that I told y'all, took my V card and then ended up leading me on, and that was what led to the tumultuous whatever stuff that I talked about in my videos. This is the guy, y'all, that I wrote Love Thyself for. Even him, though, this is just another example of another dude that I dated after that. Well, not a good example, because remember, anyways. So yeah, I'm just showing y'all him too. So this was a relationship from years ago, y'all, from my early 20s, but it was kind of off and on for years. And then eventually I was just like, even in 2000, I think it was 19, I think it was 2019, when I was in school for the second time in Florida, he came down to South Florida and he wrote me. I linked up with him one time and I realized he's still on the same, I don't know, it's like this thing where he just couldn't get past whatever. He just still wanted, if I allowed it, he would have just like continued to use me for years and years and years and years and years if I allowed it. Anyway, so that's it, y'all. I just wanted to show y'all my exes. This is just a few. That's just the tip of the iceberg. So you can see I've been dating guys since these people that I've talked about in my video, so it's bullshit what they're coming with. Anyways, the next thing I want to talk about, there was something else I wanted to talk about. Thorough research and finding everyone I talked about, including Guy from high school and Horatio. Brief presentation on my exes. Talk about situation and house and relate to work and what happened tonight with stalker by ATM and creepy guy with dog. Oh, okay. I want to talk about the situation in my house now, y'all, and I feel weird about it because, like, whenever I talk about this stuff, I get gaslit about it, and it turns into this big deal, and I'm getting a problem. You know how it is when you're targeted. Like, stuff happens. It's almost like, this is an analogy, y'all. I always give analogies. It's equivalent to you walking up the street and somebody taking a stick and hitting you in the back and hitting you in the back and hitting you in the back. And eventually you turn around and get so mad you punch them in the mouth. And then everybody's shocked and freaking out at you for punching the person that was walking behind you and hitting you in the back over and over again. That's the analogy I would use to targeting and the stuff they do. They do stuff and antagonize you. And then when you react or act like the monster that they're trying to portray you as or create you into, the false narrative, then they gaslight you about it. It's just this weird thing. Anyway, so one of the people in my close circle that I've talked about in my prior videos, one of the older people in my close circle, I've made a video about this already. Hold on, yeah, I keep forgetting that when I switch between, I'm sorry, I thought I heard an ambulance, y'all. I keep forgetting when I switch between the apps, you can't hear my talking. So let me just go over to YouTube real quick, guys. Here it is. This video titled Documenting New Gang Stalking Tactics. I was talking about this person in my close circle, this older person, one of the relationships that they've sensitized me to and weaponized against me, where I told y'all he had went outside to do yard work and things had mellowed down in the house where I wasn't really hearing the noise campaigns as much around this time. And then he went outside to do yard work. He started doing yard work. And I noticed he just started to do like the gang stalking thing randomly. Like he would sit on the porch, and this is this thing he does, right? Sometimes. He sat on the porch and I'm sitting there. You know how sometimes, like I told you and I explained to y'all, they send you the shadow networking. You're watching a show, right? And something to sensitize you will play, and then you'll hear somebody make noise in the background, right? Like you'll hear Rev Campaign, or you'll hear a neighbor go beep, beep, that type of like subtle, covert harassment noise campaigning. That's kind of similar to what he would do. Like he'll sit on the porch and he'll start to like knock his boot, or, like make sounds. It's so subtle you can't prove it, but it's obvious that it's happening. And so it's just this psychological thing. And he started to do that and it was out like completely unprovoked, y'all. I hadn't made a video about anything, excuse me. I hadn't been acting, any kind of way. I'm not even a disrespectful person. I'm not even a problem child. I explained to y'all already. Prior to my targeting, aside from those 3 years where I was an alcoholic in my early 20s, I never gave my parents problems or the people in my close circle. Out of all of my siblings, I'm just saying, one of the people in my close circle used to say I was her easiest, whatever, out of all of my siblings. I was the easiest one, the most laid back one, the one that was the least problematic. Now I'm targeted and all these things are happening to me and I'm responding like a monster because of what's happening. This is how it's designed. I already showed y'all other targets and what they do to targets, right? Where they actually egg these reactions out of you, these heinous reactions, and then gaslight you about them. And so anyways, he was doing that, and I remember I started to like turn into a monster bitch and get really annoyed, and I made the video. And then again, it mellowed down, because before I made the video, I started to think the negative thoughts in my head, like what I do, the monstrous thoughts, and I start getting angry. And when I say monstrous, y'all, I'm not calling anybody out their name, right? I'm not going to their face and cussing them out. I have seen some people really disrespectful to the people in their close circle, even going as far as to hit them and not receiving the backlash I'm getting. I'm literally getting all of this heinous treatment over a text message I sent years ago. And then it's continuing. And so then I have these angry thoughts sometimes and I get backlash for it. It's crazy to me. Anyway, so that's what started happening around that time when he started doing it randomly. I started thinking those negative thoughts. Again, not calling him out of his name, not saying anything, kind of disrespectful, not saying anything out of his name, but just like, why just saying angry thoughts, man, whatever the thoughts were. I can get rowdy sometimes, but I don't call anybody out their name. I'm never that disrespectful or crazy. I'm more so just talking about how weird what's being done is and why is it being done, but I'm thinking it in an angry way. You're upset. Then things start to worsen, and then it starts being done more, right? It starts being done more aggressively, and then it's like everybody in the house has an attitude with me. It's this weird thing that happens. It's so unfair and weird to me. So anyways, I made that video documenting new gang stalking tactics about it, and I noticed things kind of mellowed down, right? So then the person left. Some things happened. I can't really say too much because then I'll reveal who I'm talking about, excuse me. The person left 2 months ago to go to Florida because of something that happened, right? So the person's been gone for 2 months. No noise campaign in the house like that. Like every now and then, sometimes when shadow networking plays, I'll hear like a little door close, but nothing major like that. It hasn't really been at all in the house. It's been cool in the house. No, nothing, right? It's been cool. And then also too, during the daytime, I've had the house to myself now because that person was gone, right? Because the other two people in the house work. I work at night. So during the daytime, I told you all, if I'm not at the gym, I'm home. I don't go out, I'm targeted, right? So where am I going, right? So I'm in the house and I haven't shielded my room yet. So unfortunately, I'm still being watched on camera, like the freak show of the island. So anyways, he came back, right? He came back last week. I don't remember which day. And similar to what happened when I came back on island, it was so reminiscent of when I came back on island. When I came back on island in 2022, remember I told y'all I tried to relocate in 2022. The targeting had amped up on island. And so I tried to relocate. I remember resigning from my jobs, right? And I tried to relocate. Did not know the thing was going to follow me. And I didn't know the thing was going to blow up the way that it did. Had the angry responses that I had to certain things, right? It blew up. I come back to island now with my tail between my legs. Even though I feel like I've been wronged and I didn't deserve what happened to me, I still came back with my tail between my legs because it's just one of those life-changing, life-altering, traumatic experiences that make you run home with your tail between your legs. And so I came home right on that note, and I remembered having conversation with the people in my close circle in the living room, them telling me, warning me about bearing false witness and this and that and whatever else they told me. And it felt like things would possibly go back to normal. Like maybe they would have mercy after everything I've been through. Okay, let's stop this now. It seemed normal for the first week, right? This same person, I remember he was cooking. He would bring me food sometimes. I would say, thank you. I'm acting awkward because of everything that's happened. That's the only thing I'm doing. I didn't say anything about and him making noises. He wasn't making noises at first. Nothing like that. I didn't say anything disrespectful. I was humble. My tail was between my legs. I never wanted to experience the thing again. I noticed that, I think because I was awkward, I was acting awkward with him. Like, how could you fault me for acting awkward? I've been awkward my whole life, first of all. And then second of all of this stuff that's happened has made me awkward with you all too, right? So I'm acting awkward. I'm saying thank you. I'm being respectful, but I'm just acting awkward because of everything I've been through. I don't know if that's what creates the offense. I cannot, it fathoms me. I'm sorry, it baffles me. I can't fathom what causes it. But I just noticed after, him being nice and bringing me the food and stuff, he started to do the noise campaigns outside again. That was what started it up again. When I came back on island, I was like, what the heck? I'm like, after that big talk we had, was that all fake? Like, what was that talk about? So I remember that creating the dissension that led to me being disrespectful back then. This was at the beginning of last year. Remember I came back on island towards the end of 2022. right? So this was towards the end of 2022, beginning of last year. Mind you, at this time I wasn't working. So I'm home all day long, all night long. The person in my close circle, the other person in my close circle was, she was going to work. There's now there are now 4 people in the house. One of the people that's there was not there yet. She hadn't graduated from college yet. So it's literally just me and 2 people in my close circle. The female, she go to work during the daytime. I used to work with her. He's home during the daytime, right? Who I'm talking about. So it just started turning into this thing where he was hardcore doing it, like every day. And I'm like, I was so angry because I'm feeling trapped now. I'm feeling more trapped than I did before I left Island, because at least before I left Island, I, in my head, always had the option of going to the States, relocating. I didn't have the thought of the thing following me. I have a good resume. I keep saying had because you know how it is when you're targeted. I have a degree. So in my head, I'm just like, okay, well, I can leave. As much as it was irritating, I'm just planning on leaving. I'm not holding a grudge or anything, even though I think the thing is taken too far. I'm like, what the heck? In my head, I'm just like, I can leave. This is whatever. That's just what my mindset was. I had hope. But understand, when I came back and things blew up and I knew the States, was no longer an option, and I'm feeling stuck in the house all day and I'm dealing with this all day long, being stared at what was happening, it starts to build like this resentment in you, and you get angry and you're frustrated and stuff. You're stuck with this all day long. Like, it's frustrating. You start to turn into a nasty person. That's understandable. So I started to think nasty, like mean thoughts about him. I wasn't saying anything like calling him out of his name or anything, but just mean thoughts, like turning mean into the monster bitch they try to paint me as. And so that, of course, created more of a resentment from him or whatever it was. And so it's just like this thing there, man. I can't really explain it. And so it's just, especially since he's around me more during the daytime because he's home and the other people aren't, well, now it's 2 people. Before it was just the female. She was going to work. So it's mainly just him and I in the house. And so it just really created this toxic type of environment, not of my doing. So anyways, now fast forward to now. So it's just kind of been this thing where he kind of eased off, after what happened last year, where I started to really think the mean thoughts, and then they started frying me with radiation and whatever else. And then I really started making my videos, and that seemed to have made a difference. It had gotten a lot better. It had gotten better, even what was happening in the house as far as the noise campaigns went or whatever. It got better. But still, off and on, I noticed he would still do it, like, randomly sometimes. Like, similar to what I talked about 4 months ago in this video. And similar to now what happened when he came back last week. He had been gone, like I said, for 2 months. When he came, the first day he came, he bought me a big plate of food, expensive plate of food. So it kind of, like I said, reminded me of when I came back on Island in 2022, when it seemed like things were okay, where he was bringing me food and stuff and things are okay. I'm acting normal. I'm not having an attitude. Again, I'm just acting awkward because it's a weird situation. So I'm acting awkward. I don't know how to act. I'm already an awkward person. I'm not going to turn into this gregarious, normal, cool acting person after the trauma I've been through. And then also, too, I've already always been slightly awkward. I don't understand why you would be getting upset for that, because I think that's what's causing it. I really do. I don't know what else could be causing it. So anyways, I just noticed now, after that, the day after, the people in my close circle had to go to work, and he's home, obviously, during the daytime. I'm home during the daytime, unless I'm going to work out. And I noticed, this was just there on Friday, all day long, as they're playing the sensitization on my phone. Remember, they're constantly shadow networking and sending me bullshit to sensitize me. I'm hearing him doing the noise outside in the hallway, like this thing where he, like, closing the door, whenever the thing is sent, closing the door, and just repeatedly closing the door, doing that noise, right? Or dropping something hard on the floor, that type of thing. Like, it's really subtle and you can't prove it, but it's definitely happening. And it's coincidentally every time they send sensitization, right? Like the weird, creepy stuff they like to send. So I remember that was already where I was noticing. I was like, let me not say anything, because it almost feels like sometimes he's baiting me, because then when I react, then it turns into this thing where it starts happening hardcore as an excuse to do it more. And then it's like I'm villainized. It's this weird thing. I can't really explain it. So anyways, I said, let me not say nothing. He just got back in town, bought me the plate of food. I'm hearing it happen in here on Friday today. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to pretend like I'm not hearing it. I literally, all day long, I pretend like I didn't hear the thing. Saturday comes now. Now it's him home and all the 2 other people in my close circle, because they're off. It's Saturday. It's like when he got back, they like wanted to get in on the thing too and start doing it now when they weren't doing it before he came home. It was weird. But I noticed like they started doing it like subtly. Saturday they were doing it. But then they hardcore made the noise right? When one of the child sensitization things played on my phone, one of the weird narratives they like to spin about children, right? Played on my phone. I noticed they were doing the noise campaign. So that angered me because I know at this point now, and I think they've been knew this, they know I didn't do anything, right? So for me, I'm like, why are you doing this? I'm like, all of a sudden now this person's back in town. It almost feels like, it changes the energy in the house in a way as far as the gang stalking goes. And I'm not really sure why, what causes it. So anyways, I just noticed that now they're making the noise for the child thing all of a sudden, right? So I remember getting so angry, I almost put on my video. Let me not go to the video, which, because I don't want problems. I don't want to end up, you know how it is. Like, you talk the truth about what's happening and then you get gaslit about it. So I've been trying to be like, there's a video I created. Those of you that are subscribed to me and you've been keeping up with my story, you know what video I'm talking about, where I talked about this thing that happened in the past with someone in my close circle with a child, where I suspected that something could have possibly happened. I wasn't sure. And I felt guilty for even thinking about it in the first place, for even thinking that was what was happening, right? And I talked about what I walked in on and why I felt like that was a possibility, even though I knew this person, raised like how I was and wouldn't do something like that, right? It was still just I don't want to say too much. If you're new to the channel, you're probably gonna be like, what are you talking about? I'm going to show you the video. You can check it out for yourself, right? I didn't verify or specify who the person is. But of course the gang stalkers know, because one day when I got mad, I did think in my head who the person was. So they now at this point know who he is, but I didn't say in the video. So I can show you guys the video for you to check out the experience I'm talking about. And that's kind of, I still suspect this. I do feel like that's partially why the text turned into what it turned into. Because shortly before that happened, that same summer, not only did I get in a fight with the person in my close circle, but I feel like he would get uncomfortable anytime I was around and he was with my niece. I noticed that, right? Sometimes he would get uncomfortable, and I think it was just him thinking about the situation or whatever, and thinking that I wasn't even thinking about that. I just noticed he would get uncomfortable sometimes. And I remember, she kept going to his room because she loves him. They love him, right? And I remember him going to his car and parking up on the hill, and the person in my close circle, the older person in my close circle, seeming annoyed with me. And I hadn't done anything. But I think he just felt uncomfortable because of the past, what happened. Anyway, you can check out the video. I'll show you guys. It's this video. My plea for help is a targeted individual. And they just don't like me because I think what I said made sense when I walked in, and why I would even, I felt guilty for even thinking that way. But at the same time, you see, look how they're flying the thing back. See, that's to tell you they're verifying that they just don't like me, because they know that it's reasonable me looking into that further, but they just don't like me. Look at them flying the thing. That's to tell you they just don't like me. Anyway, so that's crazy. Anyway, so that's partially why I felt like the text messaging happened, because that same summer I remembered him kind of seeming awkward around me about the thing, right? About whatever happened in the past. And then I noticed that older person in my close circle, seeming annoyed with me, and then I had gotten in the fight with her too. And yeah, y'all gotta just listen to my story. There are elements to this thing, y'all. I'm telling you, there are elements to this thing and why I think it turned into what it turned into. Anyway, so I got mad on Saturday when they did the noise campaign about the child thing, and I went to put this video on, and I know it enrages them when I play this video. I said, let me not do this, because it's going to make things worse for me. Things are okay. My mom lends me the car sometimes. People in my close circle, things have been decent recently. And then this person comes back in town, and it feels like, that the stuff in the house started happening again. I start reacting, and then I'm monster bitch again. I'm being villainized again and punished again. It's unfair, man. So anyways, that's what started happening. I just started thinking some nasty thoughts in my head on Saturday, and I even went as far as to start playing this video, but I took it off because I realized it would be a problem for me. But I started to think some nasty thoughts. I did. Some not nasty like I'm calling them out of their name. I never do that. But nasty and like some offensive, you could say, thoughts out of anger. And so it's just that I just want to talk about it, y'all, because again, it's happening. I just want to document. And then I noticed Sunday night now, I took a little nap before work. Remember, I worked the night shift. I woke up, I started feeling that nano sensation, that crawling around sensation in my brain, and like at the top of my head, not in my brain, at the top of my head and the back of my neck. And I hadn't felt that sensation since the beginning of last year, y'all. I'm like, now all of a sudden I'm feeling that sensation. And also too, even before this person came back in town, I told y'all last week when I started squatting 300 pounds, they were hardcore doing the hum thing every night at work. And even sometimes during the daytime, they started doing it again, similar to what they were doing at the end of last year. Just hardcore doing the Havana, what I suspect to be Havana syndrome thing. So it's just off and on with this thing, man. You don't even have to do anything to provoke them. They're just constantly doing stuff, is what it seems like. And if you dare respond, you're going to get punished for it. So all you can do is document at this point until you figure out, find help. All you can do is document. So that's what I'm doing. So I just want to talk about that too in this video. That's it, y'all. That's all I want to talk about. Really nothing else for me to talk about. That's it. That was all I want to document. Just want to document again, remind you that the Havana syndrome has I can't concretely prove it's Havana syndrome, but what I suspect to be Havana syndrome, the loud hum thing that causes certain symptoms within me, has been happening hardcore since last week. It's still happening. Wanted to share that stuff about, the exes and whatever else. So that's it, y'all. I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace out.